Hey guys, it's Ty the Dog Guy here, and I want to talk about choosing a dog trainer in Salt Lake City. Now, you might think that this is just a blog post or a video about how to choose us as dog trainers, but it's really not, and I'll explain why. There's a saying in business that if you want to make money, say yes to everything. If you want to grow a business, learn how to say no to almost everything. And what that means is if you're trying to grow a business and you're trying to please everybody, you're going to please nobody, because nobody can be a master of everything. Nobody can be perfect at everything. No one can help every single client. And so I've noticed now that we've had this business, I want to say 11 or 12 years, that in the beginning I said yes to everything. You have a dog? Yeah, we'll come train it. Oh, you don't want to train it the way that I do? Okay, I'll adjust how I train to do it the way that you want to do. Oh, you want to do something different? Okay, we'll do that. And so no matter what, I would just adjust to what everybody wanted instead of defining who I was as a business owner and who we were as a company. And we made money, we survived as a business, but it really wasn't until we learned how to say no and learned how to determine what we are and what we're great at, to where we really started to grow. And now today we've got, half a dozen trainers, and we help hundreds and hundreds of dog owners every single year. And we do a lot better job at working with clients that we're a perfect match for. So I want to lay out some guidelines that would help you know if our company, or even another company that might have some similarities to us, is right for you, or maybe is even wrong for you. So when it comes to training, there's the first and number one thing you need to look at is style. Hopefully, I don't even know if you can see that very well. I wrote style. It says it on there. We'll see later if that shows up well. The style and the methodology of training. Now, there's a million ways to train a dog, just like there's a million ways to skin a cat. We don't do that. We learn to say no to that one pretty quick. But there's so many ways to train a dog, but when it comes down to it, there's two main categories that you're going to find just about anywhere. You've got force-free or treat-style training or clicker training. Now, some people that use corrections also use clickers, and so this isn't definitive, but there's lots of ways that people define this one. Some people call it R+. I mean, there's so many different ways. But generally speaking, what we're talking about is there are trainers who do not use any sort of correction. And when I say correction, I'm referring to a tug on a leash, a correction through a training collar, like an electric collar, a spray bottle, even like a stern no. They won't do that. And so there is that style of training. Now, I don't believe in it as far as a methodology that works long term. I don't think it's healthy for a dog to do this. But some people, that fits with their worldview. And so anyways, for some people, this is good. And so if you're going to go the force-free or treat way, you really want to look at two different things. You want to look at the hobbyist versus the pro. So in this industry of force-free training with no corrections, there's a lot of hobbyists, people that have fun with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But oftentimes hobbyists don't have experience dealing with any sort of behavior problems. Oftentimes hobbyists are just running like little group classes as a side thing, just something that they do for fun, and they make a couple bucks here or there. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you're looking for. So if you're looking for somebody that's just going to teach you some fun little tricks, and some simple obedience with your dog, nothing wrong with going to a hobbyist. But if you're going to be using force-free training or treat or clicker training, and you're trying to solve a problem, you're going to need to find a professional. Now, I don't think that they can solve problems as well as the other style, which I'll talk about here in a second. But the professionals here are people that they do this for a living. This is their income. And as a result, they've learned to be very good. Otherwise, you don't eat, and your kids go hungry. And so the professional here is somebody that has experience working with reactivity, dogs barking on a leash, has experience with, maybe some sort of aggression or getting dogs to stop chewing or things like that. And so that's the two different categories that you're going to have in the force-free kind of methodology. And so when you're looking at these, the way to determine is simply ask questions like, is this what you do for a living? Now, if they say no, that doesn't make them a bad trainer. And there are some hobbyists that are good at dealing with behavior problems. But you're going to want to ask, like, hey, do you have any testimonials from clients that, have dealt with problems like we're dealing with? Or, is this something that you have experience with? Do you have any video? Video is a great thing, video showing. On our website, we've got dozens of case studies of long video, 20, 30-minute case studies showing exactly what we do. Ask the same thing of your trainers here. Ask for, proof that they know what they're doing. A certification isn't proof. A lot of these folks are going to have certifications. Certifications are simply this organization, you paid them money and they gave you a certification. In some instances, there's a little bit more difficulty there, like maybe you have to pass a written test, or maybe you have to, pass a test with some of your peers or something like that. But there are no certifications that are recognized by all dog trainers. There is no government body, there is no legislation, there is no certifications for dog trainers. So when you see certifications, they're neither good nor bad. They're just simply showing that this person went to this certifying company and did what they asked. And what they asked might have been, give me a check for $100. It might have been, take this written test. It could be a bunch of things. But certifications usually don't mean anything in the dog training world. So anyways, so there's this side here that if that's a style you're looking for, if that resonates with you, that's how you want to make your decisions. Don't make it based on certifications. Make it based on the types of results they've been able to produce and prove, not just say that they've worked with aggression, but hey, show me some video, show me some proof of what you've done in this realm. Okay, over here on the other side, boy, that glare, who knows, maybe we'll see here. The other side, we've got, there's different terms. Oftentimes the term being thrown around is what we would call balanced trainers. And so a balanced trainer is somebody that's going to use correction and balance that with positive reinforcement. Or the reverse, someone that's going to use positive reinforcement and balance that with correction. So what do I mean by that? Positive reinforcement is simple. I think a lot of people understand that. Your dog does something good, so you positively reinforce it with a pat on the head, a treat, a toy, some sort of reward, something that your dog likes or that your dog takes seriously as, hey, this is great. So that's positive reinforcement. Now, a balanced trainer is going to look at the other side and say, well, what about misbehaviors? Yes, it's easy to praise good behavior, but what about misbehaviors? A balanced trainer is going to use corrections. Now, so this is where you've got to be careful. So, how you use corrections. So, how a trainer uses corrections is important. There is an unfortunate history in the dog training world where for a long time trainers use very rough techniques in order to give a correction to a dog. In fact, there's even a term for it. They call them crank and yank trainers. They would crank on a dog or yank a dog. Picture this as a leash and just crank on the dog when the dog is doing something wrong. And so there are these crank and yank trainers, who I would maybe term as like old school trainers who are just harsh. Salt Lake has some of these guys, and that resonates with some people. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's something, like I say, I don't agree with these force-free guys over here, but I think that they do a good thing within what they do. The crank and yank guys over here, I don't think it's right. I don't think that that what they're doing is proper. I don't think it's good, and I don't think people should use them at all. So anyways, how do you use corrections? You want to figure that out. Corrections should be fair. Corrections should be something that makes sense to the dog. And so dogs learn in a very physical way. So I'll give you an example. I've got 4 daughters, and I don't spank my kids. I know sometimes that gets people actually upset, like, oh, you don't spank your kids, you should spank your kids. I don't. With my kids, there's ways to correct my kids that don't require any sort of physicality. That's what I believe. Now, if you spank your kids, I'm not going to judge you. It's none of my business. But I feel that there's ways I can talk to them, I can reason with them, timeout, removal of privileges, things like that that make sense to kids, and sometimes don't make sense to kids. I'm not good at this parenting thing. But anyways, there's so many ways that we can communicate, child, you did something wrong. With a dog, taking away privileges, like if you say, all right, you did bad, go in your crate, it doesn't make sense as a punishment. If you talk to your dog and you really explain to him like, oh, this hurt my feelings so bad that you did this, like when you attacked the neighbor, it really, really caused me grief. That doesn't work. They don't care about your state of being. Hopefully your kids do, maybe your kids don't. What else? I mean, but you can't use the same techniques with dogs that you do with kids, because there's a level of reasoning and there's a level of being able to understand cause and effect that dogs do not have. So how do dogs learn? Dogs learn more physically. When it comes to the positive reinforcement, there's a lot of physicality to it. Here's a physical treat. Here's a physical pat on the head. Here's a physical pat on the head while I say good boy, such that good boy actually starts to have meaning. And so dogs are so physical in how they learn. When we give corrections, we want them to be physical as well, but fair. You know, like if your dog jumps on you and you smack him in the head with a frying pan, guess what? He's never going to jump on you again. But it's not fair. It's wrong. It's too over the top. If your dog jumps on you and you give a little correction with you give a little pop on the leash, or you give a little, light stimulation with an electric collar, that's totally fair. It's just like a slightly annoying sensation to where the dog says, hey, I prefer to sit here rather than jump because it's better for me. Not because I'm terrified of jumping. That's what the frying pan does. That's what the crank and yank guy does. But simply because of preference. I prefer to sit because when I jump, it's less comfortable. I don't love it. And when I sit, I get all this good positive reinforcement. I should do that instead. And so how you use corrections becomes very important. A lot of folks like to get caught up in the actual tools. Any tool can be good, any tool can be bad. So what I mean by that is a lot of people say, ooh, an electric collar, that sounds really harsh. Maybe if you use electric collars, I don't want to use you. And I'll be honest, electric collars can be harsh, or they can be incredibly gentle, or they can be somewhere in between. They can be a lot of things. They're simply a tool. Treats can be very gentle, or they can be harsh when you give too many of them and your dog gets way overweight or something like that. I know what I'm talking about there. But in any case, any treat from any tool, from a treat all the way up to an electric collar, can be used well or can be used poorly. An electric collar, for example, used well, is one of the most humane ways that you can ever give a correction, because it's literally nothing more than like a light static. I mean, picture yourself touching a doorknob and that light little, that little feeling that isn't painful, but it's weird enough that you like, all right, let me avoid that. That's all that the electric collar is. Or you can crank that thing up and make the dog feel awful. Don't do that. But what I'm saying is, it's not the tool that does it, it's how they use corrections. So, when you are looking for a balance trainer, if that's what you're looking for, you want to do the same thing that you would do over here as far as asking for proof. You can ask for certifications. Some people have them, some people don't. Certifications don't mean anything, to be honest. Or you can see what kind of, testimonials do these folks have? What kind of video do these guys have? What kind of results do these guys produce? Not only what kind of results they produce, but how does it look as they're producing them? And so in any case, you want to get that proof. So, like I say, I'm going to summarize and finish up here. If you're a Salt Lake dog owner, not Salt Lake, Utah, any dog owner, whoever finds this video, but I'm speaking mostly to our Utah dog owners here. If you're a Utah dog owner and you're trying to determine what dog trainer should I use, think first about the style, then think, okay, is this a pro, is this a hobbyist, what exactly do I need? And then, start asking questions, start getting proof, and start figuring out, what is the way to go. Now, the reality is, have any of you guys ever been to Mountain Mike's Pizza? There's a Mountain Mike's Pizza in South Jordan. There's a Mountain Mike's Pizza in, anyways, I think there's one in West Jordan. Anyways, Mountain Mike's Pizza is my favorite pizza. And they have this poster on the wall in South Jordan, where we live, that says, you can get a $5 pizza but you're the one that has to eat it. I don't care what side you're on here. If you're looking for good training, you're going to pay for it. Sorry. Maybe this is a little plug for our business because we are not a cheap company at all. We're not a cheap dog training company. But what I'm getting at here is if you're going to get real results, if you want that simple stuff, like sit for a treat, lie down for a treat, shake for a treat, if you want that simple stuff, you'll pay simple money. But if you want something that's more advanced, you want off-leash obedience, you want to fix behavior problems, you want to, you want to get over some big challenges like aggression or anxiety or things like that, or you want to be able to take your dog off leash in the mountains and perfect healing around distractions in the neighborhoods or whatever, it's not going to be the $5 pizza that gets you there. It's going to be that $20 pizza that is delicious and that you don't buy it that often because it's so expensive, but it is that delicious thing that hits just the right spot. Whether it's us or whether it's another dog training company, if you're going for that level of results, you're going to be paying, you're going to be paying more than the $5 pizza. So in any case, hopefully this makes sense. Let us know if you have questions. If we can help you, we would love to be of service. We would love to help you with your dog training as long as you fit within here. You're somebody that's looking for balanced training, somebody that's going to work with their dog, somebody that cares about their dog. We're going to be a great match for you. Thanks for watching.